I was recently reminded of a game I played a ton as a kid, Wrath of the Gods. A point-and-click adventure game that made use of full-motion video rather than animation. Some of you might remember the demo of this game that came with SimCity 2000 Special Edition. In the demo, you had to get this ship past the Clashing Rocks, a simple puzzle that showed off some of the game's features. I have no idea where my copy is now, but I discovered that it was considered abandonware and was available on archive.org, a really great resource if you're looking for old games. In order to get the game to work, I had to install Windows 3.1 onto my computer. Thanks DOSBox for making this possible. When revisiting media from your childhood, there's always a chance that it's not as good as you remember, but honestly, I had a great time playing this game again, and even though I hadn't played it in over 20 years, I still remember a bunch of the puzzles. As I was playing again, a thought came to me. Could I speedrun this game? I recently watched OneShortEye's videos about speedruns of Sierra Adventure games. If you haven't seen them, I encourage you to check them out. The videos have lots of great information about speedrunning old adventure games. Now, I like the concept of speedrunning, figuring out all the little tricks to move most efficiently through a game, but I feel like for most games, all the best tricks have already been learned. It's unlikely I'll have anything to contribute. Also, it would likely take hours of practice just to get to a reasonable result, and there's few games I'm willing to put that much time into. However, Wrath of the Gods doesn't appear on speedrun.com, meaning I could be first, and it doesn't matter how long it takes me to finish it. In this video, I'm going to do a quick introduction to Wrath of the Gods, as well as provide some updates, and then go over various features and quirks that influence the gameplay that could come up when speedrunning. This video will not go through the entire game, but to give a brief introduction so that you all know what I'm talking about, in Wrath of the Gods, you play an unnamed hero.
Me?
You are the grandson of a king, but after he receives some bad news,
Rule in my place? Never!
He abandons you. You are found by a centaur, and one scene transition later, it's been 20 years, and you're sent off on your adventure to...
This is the hero's path.
Well, it seems like you're supposed to rescue your mom.
My own true child, come to take me home.
But the game ends with your mom still being held prisoner.
That day won't come.
Anyway, on your adventure, you meet a whole cast of colorful characters.
Don't look at me, I'm no god. I am old.
Get on, bro.
Don't be shy. Dive in.
And wash my feet. You got no style, you got no strength, you got no staying power. But I like you.
And go up against various monsters from Greek mythology. And finally, you meet Zeus, who declares,
For you have successfully completed the Trials of Olympus.
Which actually seems like a better title for this game, but I'm not in marketing. If you're interested in seeing more of the game, I have found 4 playthroughs on YouTube. The quickest playthrough was done by DemonFlip84 in 1 hour and 20 minutes. There's no commentary, just a showcase of all the scenes and puzzles completed as quickly as possible. This video is a great resource for me as I figure out the most efficient paths for moving through the game. Andrea Pannocchia's walkthrough is similar to Demon Flip's in that it has no commentary, but is a bit longer. It's posted both in its full length as well as split into 7 parts. I mostly mention this because in the split up version, Andrea helpfully included subtitles for some of the scenes where the audio doesn't work. More on that later. If you're looking for something a bit more entertaining, Twitch streamer Panoots recorded a 3-part playthrough that is pretty hilarious and frustrating as he spends a lot of time lost wandering the map.
You sure you want to take her through again?
No, I want to check out all my options. No, I just clicked on the sail. I just clicked on it, I didn't click to go!
I didn't expect to gain much from this playthrough other than laughs, but Panoots makes so many wild decisions that it actually revealed a lot about the game. It's a bit on the long side with a total runtime of 5.5 hours, and he didn't even complete all the quest. However, Panoots also made a much shorter highlights video for anyone who doesn't have that much time to kill.
What could a club do that a sword can't? I'll take this.
12 seconds later.
You need to get you a club with some wood on it.
Gotta go get the club.
Slowbeef is another Twitch streamer who made a recording of his playthrough with commentary. Unlike Panoots, he quickly turns to a guide to help him get through the game, making for a shorter video, but he's able to complete all the quests. As far as I can tell, there is only one written guide for this game currently available online. A walkthrough buried deep within a website for what appears to be a defunct family-owned online retail store. However, it seems that there used to be a PDF guide available on the game's website up until recently. Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. The people who created Wrath of the Gods still maintain a website about Greek mythology, and until pretty recently, they still sold the game through that website. It seems they took the guide down when they stopped selling the game. Since at least February 2022 though, they've had a message up that Wrath of the Gods would soon be available to play for free online. I can't wait to see that, and I hope it'll fix a couple of bugs with the game. Let's just get straight to it. There are two pretty significant bugs. One doesn't affect speedruns, but the other is pretty important. The less significant one is missing audio. There are 3 areas where the audio is missing, and they are close to the starting location. This could leave new players with the impression that the audio is going to be bugged throughout, but thankfully that's not the case. Now, it's been over 20 years, but I have memories of the audio for these scenes both working and not working. It's likely I played the game on 2 different computers and the game worked better on one than the other. This could mean it's possible to get the audio to work with the right computer setup. As mentioned before, Andrea Pannocchia added subtitles for some of these scenes in their walkthrough video. It seems the guide that used to be on the Wrath of the Gods website included the full script, and Andrea copied the missing lines from there, so quick thanks to them for their work. The scenes with missing audio are these. After carrying the old woman across the river, she transforms into a goddess who says, "You have chosen well. I am Hera, Queen of Heaven. I will be your patroness. We gods of Mount Olympus will follow your quest. If you meet with success, you'll be granted a godly favor." At the altar, if you give the peddler a gem for the cake, she says, "If you wish to understand the language of animals and insects, you must first clean your ears." Again, this ends up not being very important, but it kind of explains why you're able to understand the snake after you pick it up.
Now that you can understand me, here's some advice. Put me down.
None of the audio for the soldiers who grow out of the dragon teeth works. Unfortunately, Andrea doesn't provide subtitles for all of their scenes. However, the Oracle explains what to do in this scene, and the merchant in town also provides a hint.
Ah, the rock. It's a beaut. Good for warriors that you plant as seeds.
The second more important bug, using the bow. On the scenes where you use the bow, the speed of the target seems based on your CPU speed, which is a lot higher on modern computers. This makes hitting the targets a matter of chance. I'm not even sure if it's possible to defeat the dragon without making adjustments. This is a common issue with many older games, so DOSBox allows you to reduce the speed, but even at 5% it doesn't work great. The bow moves slowly and the animation is choppy. In their walkthroughs, Andrea, Slowbeef, and Panoots all turn down the clock speed and find that it's easier to hit the targets if you move the bow all the way to the edge of the screen. It still ends up being mostly a matter of chance, and they all had to make multiple attempts. DemonFlip84 found a different method, though. If you press escape, the target will act as if it's been hit. Intriguingly, this only works on the dragon after you practice with Chiron. I'm going to go through a few things I've learned about the game from the playthroughs and playing it myself. Some of these might be relevant for a speedrun, but others not so much. I'm fairly certain every item the peddler sells you is useless. The cake lets you understand animals, but the animals have little to say. The only benefit seems to be if you talk to Pegasus, they'll give you a hint.
Hey, hero. To go after the Chimera, you'll have to tame me first.
The elixir is a red herring. It will allow you to fight the seedmen, but you can't defeat them with it. Seasoned firewood? I have no idea. I have found that after you take the carrot from her, even if you don't buy the seasoned firewood, she disappears from the screen, so it must just be another red herring. One useful item is the carrot. After eating it, it allows you to see in the dark, but you can also use the candle you get from Daedalus' workshop. The eye chart is a red herring on 2 levels. The merchant makes a joke about using it on the Cyclops.
Find any Cyclops, tell them you're a doctor, have them cover one eye.
But that's not what happens. If you ask the Oracle for help getting past Argus, she'll first suggest to use the eye chart. but it doesn't work. The wine will actually get you past the Cyclops, but the barman by the Golden Fleece will sell it for cheaper.
That'll be 1 gem.
You can use the bee sting ointment while on the screen with the bees, but it doesn't seem to help you in any way.
You just know this stuff's gonna come in handy.
The rock is a rock. It does the same thing as the other rock if for some reason you don't pick it up. Throughout the game, you pick up items that are more like trophies. These include the crown from your grandfather, the second golden apple you get from Atlas, the golden fleece, and the crown from the mermaid. For me, the crown from the mermaid is the most inexplicable. Why does she give you a crown? You just went down to retrieve a ring. Outside of trophies, there's the axe heads you pick up when you knock the axes off the wall. No idea what you do with them. When you retrieve the sword, you also retrieve a pair of sandals. Again, no idea what you can do with them. Now, for a long time I thought the ball of thread called a clue in the inventory was bugged or useless. However, thanks to Panoots being completely done with navigating the labyrinth, I learned that the clue only works after you defeat the Minotaur, automatically taking you back to the entrance. Within the game world, gems are pretty scarce. You generally don't need many, as a lot of the items for sale aren't actually useful. That said, there are ways of getting an endless supply. One of these methods I learned as a kid. In all the dragon terminals, there's a slot machine. You would assume that it's randomized, but it's not. If you only have 1 or 2 gems, you always win. If you have 3 or more gems, you always lose. As such, whenever you get down to 1 gem, you can run to a slot machine and get 2 more. The other method I learned from Panoots. If you talk to the Oracle when you have 0 gems, she will give you 3 gems. I don't know if it happens every time, but Panoots managed to trigger the event twice. When you're in Knossos, there's a bottle you can interact with. You immediately knock it over. End of interaction. Why? The game really doesn't help you navigate, as the orientation is constantly changing. You walk off one screen headed to the right and appear on the next screen headed to the left. In one part you head up the screen, but if you look at the map you're going south, but that would mean east and west would be flipped, but they're not, so you looped around? In the labyrinth, your orientation is constantly changing, but at least it's consistent. There are a few areas where when you enter the screen, it triggers a short musical clip, and you can't move until after the clip is complete. Generally, they only play if you enter the screen from a specific direction, so it will be interesting to see if it's better to work your way around them or if they're unavoidable. As for any point-and-click adventure game, the biggest time sink is needing to run back and forth. Wrath of the Gods is generally pretty good though about leaving the items you need relatively close by, but there are a few areas where they make you run in circles. The pool with the water nymph is one area where it seems like there could be some consolidation. You have to jump in the pool at least 3 times. Once to get rid of the bees, another time to purify yourself before going to the temple, and lastly to get the helmet of invisibility. If you plan accordingly, you can do all 3 of these actions at once. After you have the ox bone and offer it to the temple, you'll be prompted to purify yourself. On the way to the pool, grab the beeswax. Once you jump in the pool, the bees will go away and you will be purified. Then jump out and back in, and the nymph should give you the helmet of invisibility. I'm not actually sure what the trigger is for the nymph to give you the helmet. As far as I can tell, it's always available after the first time you visit Medusa, but I've also managed to get it before visiting Medusa. You could also just skip the bees, as you don't actually need the beeswax to get a perfect score. The main use of the beeswax is to get past the sirens and learn their song. But the song is the same every time, and even if you crash, you end up in the same place as when you survive, and you don't get any points for surviving. It's also slightly faster since you don't have to go through the "congratulations we made it" scene. When you meet the Grey, they give a choice of bow or club. You will need both to get a perfect score, but you can't just grab one and get the other one immediately. If you grab the bow first, you can go to the arena 2 screens over and then return to get the club. If you grab the club first, you'll be able to do the arena fight instantly, but the trigger for getting the bow appears to be receiving the golden apple from Dionysus, which is a good ways away. For the most part, actions in Wrath of the Gods are pretty straightforward. You select an item and click where you need it. Nothing seems to be random, and there are only a few areas where timing is important. Using the bow is one of those areas, but as I've mentioned, it's bugged and you can just get around it by pressing escape. The other areas are the bull leaping and minotaur leaping. These are the two areas where you can really get stuck if you don't know exactly when to click. There are two different animations. Supposedly, if you click too late, the bull runs over you. But if you click too early, you don't stick the landing. However, that doesn't really seem to be the case, so it's not a great way of judging when to click. You just kinda have to figure it out. Wrath of the Gods doesn't really have fast travel, but there are 3 dragon stations you can travel between for 2 gems. The thing is, they're not very efficiently placed, and it takes a while to go into the station, buy the ticket, go back out, hand over the ticket, and then wait for the flight animation. It'll take some testing to see if they actually save you any time. Like skipping the bees, you can skip most interactions that won't directly lead to any points, but there are a few exceptions. You have to go to Hera to trigger the end of the game, but she won't let you pass if you haven't done the puzzle to get into the bull leaping arena. Also, in order to get the sword, you need to cross the river, but the game won't let you cross unless you carry someone across. I think it's quicker to take the old woman, as if you take the young woman, you'll have to do some backtracking if you want to avoid going to jail. Perhaps surprisingly, you can completely skip visiting the castle and still get full points. Revealing yourself to be the heir and returning the tiara to your mother are not required to complete the game, nor to receive any points. Before going into the labyrinth, there's a different maze game, where you have to swim to a location without getting eaten by a shark. I made a handy map to show the route. I also made a map of where to find the Minotaur. It's actually a pretty short route. One last area to save time is the final fight with the Minotaur. It's not really a fight though, the Minotaur just stands there as you punch him. The quickest combination I found to defeat the Minotaur is 3 punches to the snout, 1 punch to the body, and 1 last punch to the snout. Be careful to only hit the snout. Punching the head does the same animation, but doesn't seem to count. If you're not concerned about points, there's a lot you can skip, as Panoots' playthrough demonstrates. He manages to get to the Minotaur while skipping the Chimera, the Seaman, the Golden Fleece, and the Hydra. I'm fairly certain you can also skip the Clashing Rocks, Skyron, the Arena, and Atlas. If you can skip these things, you can probably skip all of the Underworld except for retrieving the Sledgehammer. Unfortunately, because of Hera, you have to do the puzzle before the Bull Leaping Arena. Otherwise, you could skip visiting Knossos prior to the labyrinth altogether. This also means you have to take the time to complete the wings in order to leave Knossos. Also, I would recommend triggering the Dionysus encounter as he opens a useful path, even though it's not required. If you're not worried about points, it means you can use the Oracle. Now, if you're doing a speedrun, I'm hoping you don't still need hints. However, the Oracle does a couple of other things. I already mentioned, if you have 0 gems, the Oracle may give you 3. The other thing the Oracle may do is teleport you where you need to be for 10 points. I only know of the 2 cases that happen in Panoots' stream, the most obviously useful one being that the Oracle can teleport you directly to the Minotaur, skipping the labyrinth. There may be other useful teleports, but I'll have to check. That's all I have for now. I'm hoping that my next video will be a speedrun attempt. It'll probably be a 100% run, so that it can show off a bit of the game to anyone interested. If you have any memories of this game, please share. If you're interested in playing the game, I'm hoping the online version will be up soon, but I've included links below to the materials I think you'll need to get it working. See you next time.